The book Children's Types by Douglas M. Borland, Group-5, Hyperactive and Hypersensitive Remedies. Ignatia. The next of the nervy drugs is Ignatia. It is unfortunate that Ignatia has been distorted in the homeopathic textbooks and has come to be looked on as the hysterical female. Using it in that way misses a great deal of the value which can be had from Ignatia in other cases which are not hysterical females at all. A child with a highly developed nervous system, a highly strung, sensitive, bright, precocious child, doing very well at school and being pushed, be it a boy or a girl, and the nervous system is getting overtaxed, will often present Ignatia indications. The first indication is that the child is beginning to develop headaches, a nervous, tired headache coming on at the end of the day after a period of stress. Then they begin to become slightly shaky. Their writing is not so good as it was. Their finer movements begin to suffer. The next point is a rather strained expression, and this is a major keynote to Ignatia in the non-hysterical type. It may be anything from a mere tension of the muscles to definite grimaces when the child is speaking, and it grows from that to facial chorea, generalized chorea, difficulty in speaking, difficulty in articulation. The child is becoming unduly excitable either up in the air or down in the dumps and is incredibly hyperesthetic to noise. If the child is attempting to do homework after school, any noise nearly drives it crazy. It is liable to fly into a rage and then lapse into tears. After any stress of that kind, the child is quite incapable of working. Its brain will not function. It cannot take anything in, cannot remember, and cannot think. There are definite indications for Ignatia in the peculiar modality of the headaches. The children come home from school with a congestive headache, which strangely is relieved by hot applications. If their nerves begin to get frayed, these children become scared. They may have been up against the stress of examinations. They lose their nerve altogether and are in constant dread of something unpleasant going to happen. And they may become scared of doing anything on their own initiative, even scared of going out alone. They get all kinds of digestive upsets, and the typical Ignatia hysterical stomach develops. That is to say, the child is upset by the simplest food, but can digest the most indigestible meal. Exactly the same kind of contrariness appears when the Ignatia child gets a bad throat, an acute inflamed throat, and only relief from taking something solid, something a press on it, and the pressure relieves it for the time being. These overstressed children get all sorts of disturbances if they are any confined place, particularly if there are a lot of people about. They get nervous, distressed, choky, and they are quite liable to faint. But it all keys in with the general picture of nervous stress. As would be expected in a child of that type, who has been very bright, clever, successful, and is now rather going to bits, she is very apt to blame herself for it. It is very often a child of poorer parents who is doing quite well on scholarships and now cannot do as well as she did. She starts to reproach herself, thinks that the failure is due to lack of effort on her own part, gets thoroughly depressed and almost melancholic. Linked with the choric tendency is liable to get troublesome, irritating spasmodic coughs, which come on at inconvenient times and once started go on and on and on. That is one type of Ignatia cough in the stressed child. The other type is very definite, acute laryngitis with a tendency to laryngeal spasm. They are very liable to get rheumatic pains and may even get acute rheumatism, and most of the rheumatic pains are better from definite firm pressure.